Hi.
Hi, Kirstie
Hi.
Myvett writes books. I believe they're for middle grade, but you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. And they're historical novels, which is really nice. So, Kirstie, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
So your books are for middle grade, or is it young adult?
It is so my latest book is a middle grade book, and
Okay.
I've also written a picture book, and I've also written two books that are kind of for reluctant readers. They're kind of in the middle between picture chapter books as well. But
Okay.
my latest book is a middle grade novel, The Four Seasons of Florence Wallace.
Okay. And from what I saw of your other books, you write historical books about real people.
Yes, mostly historical. Absolutely.
So tell us about Florence Wallace. That's not a name we commonly hear.
No. So, The Four Seasons of Florence Wallace is a middle grade book. It just came out May 26th, so it's
Mhm,
very new still.
mhm.
And it's about a girl who is sent to the orphanage, the Colored Orphan Asylum in New York in 1863. And so this is a temporary solution. Her mother is trying to get back on her feet after her father dies. And so she sends her to this orphanage. And of course, she doesn't want to go there. And she's very reluctant to be there. She doesn't want to make friends. She doesn't want to adjust in any way. But she spends a year at the orphanage and she learns and grows. She develops friendships and she starts to nurture a dream within her. And all that is kind of put on the line when the Civil War draft riots take place and the orphanage is destroyed. She
Mm.
starts to wonder, are the dreams of a colored girl or a little black girl even worth pursuing? So the orphanage did exist. And in the Civil War draft riots, also, this is based on a real life incident that happened in 1863.
Oh, okay. Um, Now, how common were orphanages for Black children at that time?
Yeah,
Do you know?
so yeah. In New York, it wasn't common at all. At this time period, there were orphanages for Catholics, the Jewish Children's Orphanage, Protestant, but there was no orphanage that would accept Black children. So at this, in this time period, children who were Black either lived on the street or they were sent to like mental asylums where adults were. So both obviously were dangerous for children. And these Quaker women saw a need. They saw little Black children on the streets and they were, very disturbed by that. So they were the founders of the first building of the first orphanage, the Colored Orphan Asylum. And they quickly outgrew their first building and ended up building this grand structure on Fifth Avenue in what is today Manhattan. It was the only institution that housed Black children. So it was very, very important in its day.
The Quakers did a lot, um, and they're a very small group, but they were very involved with the Underground Railroad, helping in the abolitionist movement, helping to free slaves. And did you have did your research unveil any information about what motivated them to be in this space? Because this wasn't a common thing for white people um,
Hmm.
to do,
Right. Yeah.
even in the North.
Even in the North,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. So pretty much, my research, it seems that these women saw Black children on the street, and there was an elder Black woman who was kind of looking out for them, and they gave her money. And about a week or so later, when they came back, they couldn't believe all that she had done with the little bit of money they had given her. Like she had clothed like five or six kids, and she had prepared food for them. And they saw how great the need was. And they felt it was their Christian responsibility to do something. They were women of means. And I believe two of them were unmarried, so they could kind of do what they wanted to do. They had connections, and they just felt very passionate about it. And they soon were able to get the support of kind of like the Black society of that time. Black people who were of means soon did support them because they were very strategic. They hired the first Black doctor, Dr. William Smith McCoon. He was the first licensed doctor in America. So they hired him, and they knew that if they had, Black people in these really like leadership positions, that they could trust this this institution, even though the founders were white women. There was enough Black people in the institution that they felt, okay, they're going to look out for the kids. It's going to be a safe place, and we can support them. We can stand behind them financially, and they would have fundraisers and fetes and things like that for the orphanage as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think they had any orphanages in the South. Well, during the Civil War, it was slavery time anyway. But after
Hmm.
that, it was more someone would take the children or the child in. Someone in the community would take them in and
Yeah.
raise them. It could be a relative, or it might just be um, a woman who didn't have children of her own, or just some women, their kids are all grown and they just have a heart for children.
Yes.
Mm.
Very true.
But
Yeah, they have a heart for children, and you really just have to hope you find somebody with a heart for children because
yes,
it's
it is.
usually that one or two people who have a heart for children, but there aren't programs or facilities or things to that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, tell us about what your other books cover in terms of topics.
Okay, sure. My first picture book is The Praline Lady, and it's also a historical fiction based on real life praline ladies. I'm a New Orleanian, and
Oh,
pralines are
oh.
synonymous.
So is Rhonda.
Well, no, that's I was actually going to get to that
You
because I
know
was
that?
well yeah, because when I was reading up on you, I saw that you were in Metairie, Louisiana, and I was going to ask why, well, not why, but how did you get interested in a story that took place in New York, but you were in New Orleans?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I don't know. I was doing research on 19th century Black Americans, and a lot of the information centered in New York. And it just led me there. That's the great thing about being a writer is you can write about any place.
Of course.
Yeah, but yeah, no,
Well, you know how we are. We always want to write about home. So that's why I
yes,
was wondering why you decided
exactly.
to write about New York.
Exactly. And my other stories are definitely that I'm working on are more centered here in Louisiana, but I just when I learned about the orphanage and the history of it, it was just the story that wouldn't let me go because it's virtually unknown. Like even in New York, people do not know that this happened, that rioters intentionally set fire
Yeah.
and attacked this orphanage while these children were there.
And that's so
And,
sad. Yeah.
like we're getting ready to celebrate our 250th American birthday anniversary. And I think it's just a part of our collective history that needs to be told. All of these, stories that are coming to light that have kind of been buried. So I'm excited to get to tell it. But yeah, Praline Lady was my first picture book. It's based on the New Orleans praline ladies of
Hmm.
yesteryear. They made and sold pralines on the streets in the French Quarter long before they were made and sold in candy stores. That was something that Black women did. And so that picture book came out in 2020 during the pandemic. And I've written two books about what you never knew about Rihanna with Clarion Books, and which you never knew about SZA, which I didn't even know how to pronounce SZA until my kids told me. So, so those are biography books, and it was a lot of fun learning about them and sharing what I learned in those books as well. So this is This is actually my fourth book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with SZA. My daughter, she's 30, so that's in her
Oh,
wheelhouse. And she mentioned it
yes.
to me, and I think she was on some show or something happened, and I'm like, what? I can't even pronounce it. I looked at it and I was just, flabbergasted. I said, what is it? But I still can't tell you what she does because I don't know. Is she a rapper or a singer?
She's
She's
a
a
singer.
singer and
Oh,
she's
okay.
so, so talented. She's a
She's
writer
very
too.
talented.
She
I
writes, she's
think did she do
beautiful,
the
she
back
sings.
like the movie or something? Did she do
She did
like
a movie
the
recently.
soundtrack to something? It
Yeah.
was some
Oh, the
reason
Black
why you said,
Panthers. She did that with
oh,
With
okay,
Kendrick Lamar. And she
okay,
did a movie recently with Keke Palmer. So
okay, all right. That's where it came up. So anyway, I'm not really connected in with the younger artists. I hear about them here and there, and
yeah, I
it's
can
it's really
relate.
here and there.
Yeah.
I love old school music, and it's just to me, it's nothing like it. So, but every generation has its own sounds, and so it tells a lot about the um, the times, the culture of the time. So, the
Yes.
music really does tell that story.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
So,
does.
so the person in the new book you have about the orphanage, she's one of the children that's in the orphanage. Is that
Yes.
okay?
Lawrence Wallace is the main character, and she's a fictional character, and it's her story. It's her year living there and growing and making friends and experiencing all these different things. Um, and it takes place over the course of a year. That's why it's like the four seasons of Florence Wallace. Yeah.
Okay,
It makes
okay.
sense.
And
Yeah.
then the fire happens. Is that the how the book ends, or
Yeah, it's kind of the climax of the book. So the fire takes place. The orphanage is completely destroyed. They were actually sent to Blackwell Island. It still exists today. I'm not sure what's on there, but it was a place where they had like uh, a mental asylum, a jail. It was just an island for different purposes. And they were sent there for several months until they could find another building for them and then build the orphanage elsewhere because the neighbors didn't want them to return. They were afraid. Um, and actually, I don't know the exact numbers, but the draft riots, it was like this major exodus of New Yorkers out of the city at that time because they didn't feel safe. Um, the population of Black people kind of dwindled after the riots, which would make sense, right? You don't feel safe. You've
Mhm.
just been attacked in your home.
Mm.
But they did go on and rebuild, and I believe they pretty much existed until whatever orphanages ended, maybe in the 50s or 40s or 60s or something. I'm not sure.
Hmm. I hear more, well, here and there. I haven't studied it, but the common thought is that in New York and the northern states, that Black people we weren't slaves, but we had a better life. But there were still a lot of things going on that weren't great, that weren't good at all.
Yeah.
And those things don't get the same attention as what happened in the South gets.
No, they don't. And that was one of the things that I think surprised people is when we think of the Civil War, we don't necessarily think of New York. We think of the South,
Right,
right? We don't think New
right.
York. It's this cosmopolitan, progressive city with all these different
I
cultures and
think we
people.
I think we sometimes think that everything happened in the South, that New
Oh,
York is just this metropolis where everything was just wonderful and
almost
everything was
like
coming up
Nirvana,
roses. Yeah, like some type of nirvana and all of the racism and all of the lynching and everything terrible was going on in the
in the
South
South.
and that everything great was happening up north in Boston and New York. And that wasn't the case.
No.
No, it wasn't. Um, and that is surprising to a lot of people, but many New Yorkers had a vested interest in the enslavement of Black people in the South. That's how they acquired their wealth. So for, months and months, the media was just feeding these lies, fake news that, well, when all the enslaved people are free, they're going to come up north and take your jobs. And so they
Mm.
just fuel
Oh.
this, yeah, this really toxic environment that just exploded. Of course, that did not happen. Enslaved people did not flock to the north and take anyone's jobs, but it had just, been blamed. The flames had been fed really by the media and the people who were New Yorkers who did not want, um, they didn't want slavery to end. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the show, there's an HBO show, The Gilded Age. It doesn't show slavery, but it shows the parallel lives of the Black people in New York. Well, it was
I still
the
have not
the
seen that. I have to watch that.
it's it's a great show. Um, it has the Black people that are in that show that are depicted are your educated class that they had homes and things like that. They still had to constantly deal with racism. So, but it's a very balanced picture, and it shows the Black people as having their own lives and their own culture, not just like accessories to white people. They weren't just maids, you know.
Yeah,
Um, they were educated people, doctors.
that's
They
right.
had journalists. They have a depiction, or the Black newspaper that was the newspaper at the time is part of the storyline for the show. So
Yeah,
I think it's been 3 seasons, and there's a lot of drama, and um, there's the right amount of drama with everybody
yeah.
in there.
Well,
So it's really good.
there's two questions in the chat, and I'm gonna ask them both at the same time because I think they're kind of connected a bit. But Rhonda Curry Coffee is asking that you don't stick to genre, you follow the story. But then Leon asked, um, you they're looking on your site and wanted to know why you call your series American Stories. And the reason why I'm asking the questions at the same time is I don't know that you stick to a genre. You follow the story because I feel like if it's a great story, you're going to follow it, but it's still stories about America, or they're American stories. So that's the reason why I'm asking the two questions kind of together. So
Okay. Yeah.
one, it's not so much about genre. Do you just follow the story, and then why do you call it American Stories? And really,
Mhm.
are you calling it American Stories for Gutsy Girls? I guess that's the name of it.
Okay, I'll answer the first question first.
Okay.
Is the first question, yeah. I don't write in one genre. I write for a magazine as well, and that's all adult uh, topics. So right now, I am traditionally published in KidLit, and
Okay.
Okay.
so my agent sold this book, and it inspired the American Stories for Gutsy Girls. And so it's coming out as a three-part series. I've only written the first book. The other author
Oh.
is Latina, and the third author is neurodivergent. And so it's just telling American stories from different perspectives that aren't at the forefront, that aren't normally told. So I had nothing to do with the American Stories for Gutsy Girls series.
Mm.
It just came about when they acquired my book. So
Okay,
Okay.
so
hopefully
the
that answers. Yes.
publisher gave you
Yes, the
that name.
publisher.
Okay.
Yes, the publisher is Tommy Nelson. It is a part of HarperCollins. And so they've
Oh, Thomas Nelson.
created,
Yeah.
yeah, they've created this series. So we're excited about that. It's new. People who love some of the other series from back in the day, they're excited to see another book for Girl series, the other American Girl series books. I don't know if you remember those. So they're kind of
Yeah.
excited to see a
Hmm.
new series that
Yeah,
has been launched. So hopefully that answers.
I think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
because a lot of times the publisher has something in mind. It's not the author putting the label on there. It's the publisher. And it could be the author, but a lot of times it's the publisher. They made a decision. They wanted to do a three-part, and they wanted to have three different cultures, and so that's
Yes.
they labeled it Gutsy Girls, which is
Yes. Actually,
mhm,
I
I
like
like that.
that
Mhm,
gutsy girls because they
mhm,
are gutsy girls. Each
mhm.
of the girls that you feature are gutsy in some way.
Yeah, for sure. Florence is definitely gutsy and brave and loyal and a friend. And it's the perfect label for her. So
Mhm. Did you travel to New York to research this book?
I did not. So thankfully, there is so much available in terms of research on the internet. Um, the Library of Congress offers you free access to books written 100 years or more. The story set in 1863, so I was in good territory.
Okay.
Newspapers were also available, and I had access to that in books. But I did reach out to um, a professor, a retired professor emeritus, William Sarell, and he wrote a book about the orphanage, a nonfiction book about the founders. And he and I have been in communication, and I could bounce any and every question off of him, and he graciously answered and helped. And I mentioned him in the book because he was so gracious and helpful to me in writing this.
Nice.
But
Well,
hopefully I will be visiting New York soon for sure.
Well, I'm
is
mad
this
that I didn't meet you sooner. You should have been on the show like before February, so that way I could have invited you to my Black History Month literary weekend, which was in New Orleans back in
Oh,
February.
yeah.
So
Well,
I had
remember me
met
for
you
next
sooner.
time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, now we know. We'll stay in
exactly.
touch.
Exactly.
yeah. So do you have another book coming up after this one that you're working on?
I do. Next year, I have a picture book coming out with Candlewick. It's called The Moss Picker. I have a theme for careers of yesteryear. And if you're a Southerner like me, then you know that we have these beautiful cypress and oak trees that have Spanish moss in them.
Mhm.
It's hauntingly beautiful. But once upon a time, it was a way that people made money. They picked moss and they took it to a ginnery, and it was cleaned and processed and used to stuff automobile seats and bed mattresses and all that. So that picture book comes out next year, and my illustrator for that book is the prolific James Ranson. So I'm excited to be promoting that when that time comes as well.
No, I didn't know they use the moss for those purposes.
Yeah, they did.
First time hearing about that.
Yes, yes.
Mhm. They're more. I think they're very common in Louisiana.
Yes, Louisiana, Florida, the Carolinas,
Hmm.
Georgia.
Yeah, it's a southern tree. We had them in North Carolina when I lived there as a
Yeah.
child. We think we had one in our yard. And
Oh,
you
wow.
could sit under it. You could go behind the leaves and sit there and
Yeah.
really kind of hide behind them.
Yeah, they're very,
Mhm.
they're just, they just kind of drip and they're beautiful.
Yes.
These days, they're like the backdrops in photos. People use them for their backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the way for many Black people to make a living back in the day off the land. You just go
I
and
never knew
pick the
about that,
moss. Yeah.
using it to stuff things. I didn't know that was new information. So there's so many things from the past that we still are learning. And I'm glad that there are people who are deciding to go back and find these stories and bring them to the forefront for children and adults.
It just goes
Yes,
to show that, there's still so much that our young people still need to learn. I mean, there are still so many stories out there that we just don't know yet. So that means we can't stop learning.
that's right.
Right. Well, children and adults. Because I
Exactly.
learn every week, I learn something from somebody that's a guest on the show, uh, something new that I didn't know. Uh, and it's just learning about the audiobook narration. That's new information for me. Just the background of how people do it, get into it, and just some of the things that they do professionally to make it happen.
Yeah.
So, Kirstie, thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. Congratulations on your books and for your next one coming up about the moss leaves. I need to look into that some more and learn about
Yes. You'll
moss
have to have me
leaves.
back for that.
Yeah, when it comes out,
Yeah.
drop me a line and
Okay,
we'll
I
work on it.
will.
We'll work on it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
Okay,
you for being here tonight.
have a great night.
You too. Take care.
Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye bye.